When Richard Nixon took office in January of 1969, he had a number of options with regard to Vietnam. Number one, he could just completely pull out. Nixon had been Dwight Eisenhower's vice president for the 8 years that Eisenhower was president. Nixon remembered how Eisenhower added to his popularity by ending the Korean War 6 months after taking office. Nixon could do the same thing. In fact, his campaign manager in the 1968 election, Murray Chotiner, said to him, look, you didn't get us into this, okay? So even if you end the war with a bad peace, by doing it quickly, you can put the blame on Kennedy and Johnson and the Democrats. Just go on television, tell them it was Kennedy who sent the 16,000 people in there, it was Johnson who escalated it to 540,000, and then say you're bringing them all home. And you'll be a hero. Nixon could have done that. Only problem was, if he did that, South Vietnam would almost certainly be swallowed up by the communists in short order, and Nixon couldn't do that. Second option is you keep doing what Johnson was doing. Well, that's obviously a non-starter, because that's not working. Third option, escalate the war. Invade North Vietnam, much like we invaded North Korea back in the 50s. Kick up the bombing on North Vietnam. Escalate the bombing into places like hospitals, which we hadn't been bombing before, mine Haiphong Harbor. Or another option, gradually turn the war over to the South Vietnamese, making them do more and more of the fighting while giving them the best in American weaponry. That's another option. And the final one was the nuclear option. And we do know now, because documents have been declassified, that option was discussed many times. But ultimately, the reason why it was not employed was that if we drop, say, a hydrogen bomb on Hanoi, what's going to stop the Soviets or the Chinese from dropping a hydrogen bomb on Saigon? And I mean, because China became a nuclear power in 1964, the Soviets did in 1949. What if that happens? What do we do after that? Well, I don't know, but I certainly don't want to find out. So that's out. And ultimately, Nixon decides upon the policy called Vietnamization, where he's going to slowly turn over the war to the South Vietnamese and extricate American troops unit by unit until the South Vietnamese army is capable of defending their country. And then, best case scenario, maybe we have another situation like South Korea, where it can maintain its independence indefinitely. Worst case scenario, but still acceptable from Nixon's point of view and his advisor, Henry Kissinger's point of view, is a decent interval between American withdrawal and communist victory in Vietnam. And so they ultimately decided on Vietnamization, and I think it's fair to say that was probably one of the worst decisions ever made by an American president during the Cold War. Some of the results were, first of all, a prolongation of the war by 4 years at immense cost in lives and treasure. Number two, more dissension and protesting and political chaos in the United States. Number three, devastation of heretofore beautiful countries that weren't really tangential to any American interests. Also, a double-digit inflation, which had previously been unknown in the United States. And I might add in addition, the ultimate loss of the war. There's literally nothing good you can say about Vietnamization except that it bought Nixon some time and he was able to avoid having to answer questions during the 1972 campaign when he ran for re-election that he had lost part of Asia to the communists. That's the only good thing about Vietnamization. Everything else is terrible.